Welcome to Fresh Ideas. My name is Joel DeBilson, sous chef here at South Minneapolis. Potatoes are peeled. Fresh Ideas. Let me tell you a story about it. Fresh Ideas is where I take whatever you have laying around in your kitchen and give my spin on it. Today, Laura sent us some random ingredients. She sent salmon, potatoes, spinach, mustard, butter, milk, and mushrooms. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to make a brown butter and potato puree with wilted spinach and cremini mushrooms with seared salmon and a whole grain mustard vinaigrette. Let's get started. Alright, for our brown butter potato puree, you're going to start by just simply boiling our potatoes. And it's always important when you're boiling potatoes to start in cold water. So we got the potatoes in our pot, cold water here, pour the cover, and crank it. Crank it to high and let them go for about 30 minutes. Now on to our brown butter. What we got here is 4 ounces of just unsalted butter, which I'm going to brown. We'll use that later. We'll just get it brown, set it aside, and then once we're finishing our puree, we'll add to it. So, let's add our butter to the pan. It's simple as just getting it brown. Like, it's all what brown butter is. Just adds an extra nuttiness to your potato puree. Alright, now that our brown butter is there, it's got that nice nutty smell to it. I'm going to just set it aside, let our potatoes cook, and I will roll into a whole grain mustard vinaigrette. Alright, now we're going to roll into a whole grain mustard vinaigrette. So once again, this is an optional thing on the dish. I had whole grain laying around, I had white wine vinegar, I had canola oil. So I'm just going to make a simple vinaigrette. Alright, so now we're going to work with our mushrooms. These are just button mushrooms, pretty cheap at the grocery store. So what I'm going to do is just do a quick chop. I got the pan getting hot in the back, and I'm going to sear these up. So just take the mushroom, slice them thin. And it's important with mushrooms to have a nice hot pan because you want a nice little sear on them. You don't want to overcook them too either. Alright, now that we got a nice smoking hot pan, let's add about 2 tablespoons of canola oil in there. We're ready to sear our mushrooms. Into the pan. Now when you're searing mushrooms, don't mess around with them. Just let them go on one side so they get a nice sear. And just season with salt and pepper. Alright, so you're going to let them go on one side for about 2 to 3 minutes. Give them a flip, and then we're going to finish it with just a little bit of butter. Make a nice moist mushroom. Alright, now that we're at that point, it's a nice sear that I like. I'm going to give it a little flip. Flip again. Make sure we got nice caramelized mushrooms. Let them cook on the other side for another minute. What we're going to do is just finish them with a tap of butter. Now that the mushrooms are seared the way I like them, I'm going to add a little pat of butter. Finish it out. Give it a little swirl. Give it a little swirl. And we're done. Alright, so now our butter is in there. It's important not have the fat stay inside of these mushrooms because they're going to become soggy and not pleasurable. So we drain. And just a quick drain, doesn't need to be for too long. Alright, so I just took my potatoes out and drained them really quick. What I'm going to do is I'm taking the extra step to make these potatoes really nice and smooth and velvety instead of gluey. So to prevent that, what you do is you dry them out in the oven. So I have a 450 degree oven preheated, and we're going to dry them out for about 5 minutes. Alright, so now I have our brown butter that we had cooked earlier. I'm just going to bring that back up to hotter temperatures, because whenever you're cooking mashed potatoes, make sure that all your wet ingredients are hot. Otherwise, you're going to have a gummy potato. Ooh, what up, girls? They look good? So we're going to pull them out. And we're ready to make our potato puree. Alright, now that our potatoes are dried out, we are going to mash them. Now I have a food mill. I don't have a blender or any type of masher to make this potato puree, so I'm fortunate enough to have a food mill that I brought from work. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our potatoes that are nice and hot. We're going to grind them up. Alright, now that we have our potatoes in our food mill, we're just going to press them through to our bowl. Wasn't very successful, but you know, you live and you learn. So our potatoes are grinded through the food mill. I'm just going to season with some salt and pepper. Once you get it to taste, and then I'm going to add my hot milk. Mix it up. Now this is a puree. It's going to be a potato puree. It's going to be a little bit thinner than your standard mashed potato. So I've got my milk in there. It's important with mashed potatoes to not overwork as well, because then they get gummy and it's not very pleasurable. Alright, now that our milk is in there, let's make sure to add our brown butter for the flavor. Now that our liquid is added to our potatoes, they are perfect consistency. Always taste. Pretty good. Alright, now it's time to rock our garnish. And for our garnish, we're going to do a sauteed spinach with button mushroom, and that's it. I'll show you how to saute it up. I just got a bag of spinach that I got in the grocery store. It doesn't matter if it's baby, if it's just the larger stuff. Now I'm just melting my butter, add my spinach. Now this stuff wilts down very far, so make sure you're dividing kind of a lot of it, because so I just added some water because I started it in butter, and if you add water, it's going to bring out the moisture in the spinach. So you're not trying to saute the spinach either. And let it wilt down. Now that we're wilted down to this far, I'm going to season with salt and pepper. A little toss. You just set aside, keep repeating this process, because as you saw how much spinach was in there, that's how much we're going to have at the end of the day. So I have our spinach wilted. I'm going to finish the garnish. What we do with that is we add a dab of butter to it, to our pan, it's nice and hot. Swirl it around. Do a little bit more. Now we add our spinach. Spread it out. Make sure it's nice and hot. Here are our drained mushrooms that we had before. Those are going to go into our wilted spinach. And we need some acidity here, so let's give it a little lemon juice to brighten it up. sauce. And taste. Alright, now we're ready for our salmon. What we have here is a nice piece of Scottish salmon that I got from our local fish store. And what I'm going to do with it is I'm just going to season it with salt and pepper. Both sides. Pepper. Now we have a pan here getting hot. I'm going to add some oil. Now when you're cooking salmon, it's important to have a nice hot pan because you want to get one nice sear, and we're going to shoot it in the oven, and we're shooting for medium rare. So now we have a nice smoking hot pan. Let's try to place our fish in it. So now I have a nice golden brown crust. We're going to shoot it at put it into a 450-degree oven. It should take about 4 to 5 minutes to be nice and medium rare. So now we've been in the oven for about a minute. Let's take our salmon out. Whoop. Nice caramelization on the skin. Sorry, on the flesh. Back in the oven. Alright, now we're going to check out our salmon since it's there. Squeeze. It's on the dick. Let that rest. Now I like to cook my salmon medium rare, but if you like it more cooked, just don't be afraid to leave it in the oven for another couple minutes until it's cooked through. Now what I'm doing here is I have my garnish that I had heated up before with the spinach and mushrooms. Just make sure it's hot. We got our brown butter potato puree back here hot. We're ready to plate. Alright, now that we got everything hot, it's time to plate. So we put a little bit of potato puree on the side of the plate. So again, I'm just going to make it look fancy for a date night. You know, just hope that good things happen. So I just do a little swoosh, make it look nice. Grab another spoon. We got our spinach and mushrooms. Place a little bit there. Take our salmon, top on top of that. Sure looks good. Now we got our vinaigrette. Once again, this is an option. This is trying to just make the panties drop if you do this as a day night. We'll drizzle over the salmon. Salt. Alright, let's dig in. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Laura, for sending your ingredients in to me. Also, let's make sure your boyfriend cooks this for you. Otherwise, feel free to give me a call. Once again, thanks to our guests, our audience. Feel free to email us your ingredients that you have laying around in your kitchen via Facebook or email. Stay hungry, my friends. Stay hungry.